starting to kick out on some locations. And let me make sure I've got, there we go, plugged in to the router because it says we're dropping frames and I don't want to do that. It's no fun. It's NBA. NBA Saturday. The last NBA show we did, Adam, that was a nice leisurely walk through the one game play in. It feels like a lifetime ago that happened.
Yeah, that was a really good day for me, and I haven't had many since. So maybe you'll be good luck.
We shall see. We shall see. I'm waiting to do a show with Greg tomorrow because last Sunday was my last really good day. I doubled up on NASCAR, tripled up on NBA, and 7x hockey. Oh, and I doubled up on baseball too. I hit everything.
Yeah, that's a good day.
Was a good day. I've been chasing those that day since. So here we are. But reminder, guys, we are sponsored today by SuperDraft. They do have contests over there. If you have not yet signed up, use the promo code Awesemo 10. That's Awesemo 10 when you make your first deposit. You can already have an account, but when you make your first deposit, Awesemo 10 put in $10, they'll give you 10. Put in 100, they'll give you 20. So pretty good deals there. That comes in the form of Super Cash, which is available for immediate use into any contest. That will automatically come out first as you start to enter into contests. They are kind of fun over there. We have a, let me get up to their contests here. Sorry, SuperDraft, my apologies. They are doing NBA, NFL contests are posted, MLB, NASCAR, MMA, which we have tonight, and then NHL. They also have single game contests, so I do want to point that out, and it's a lot of fun over there. It's all multipliers, so you can literally play anybody you want as long as you're meeting their lineup requirements. And from that point, like someone like James Harden today, I believe is a 1 multiplier. However, if you go look at somebody like, say, Alex Caruso, he's a 1.9 multiplier. So if Caruso were to score 20 points and Harden score, 35, Caruso would outscore him. Well, there we go. I don't think Caruso's going to score 25 or 20. I don't think Harden's going to score only 35. That is the question of the day. Let's start off with. Let's run from the top. Well, let me rephrase this. Would you rather go game by game? I know you organize your thoughts a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think for basketball, it's just best to go game by game because there's a lot of times where, like, it's just easier to talk about matchups that way.
Perfect, not a problem. And I think last Saturday was my first basketball show since March, so I've got to get back in the swing. So let's go with Milwaukee at Orlando here. Milwaukee favored by 12. A few things we've seen in this. One, Giannis really hasn't had to break out the boomstick per se, but he is still scoring at a phenomenal rate per minute. So he's got 59 and 65 DK points in his last 2 outings. On the other side, you've got an Orlando team that is starting to fall apart. This was expected. They got a little bit lucky in that first one, so they do have a win under their belt. Nikolai Vucevic has been playing out of his mind, so we'll go from there and then take it away. Apparently I have some sound issues, so let me see if I can fix that. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I think Vooch is obviously the best player on Orlando, and he's playing really, really well. It's not really surprising either. I mean, it's Brook Lopez is a good defender, but he's a better defender around the rim than chasing Vooch around the floor. Vooch has had tons of success against Lopez for years, basically regardless of where Lopez is playing. So it's not really surprising to see him doing well. If you go and look at the stats page on NBA.com, a ton of wide open looks for Vooch, and he's converting on them. Usage rate through the first couple of games up north like 32%. So it's not really surprising how well he's playing. The salaries come up. The really only concerning thing with Vooch is that this game in particular, this series, just has so much blowout potential because the Bucks are so much better than Orlando. There's probably going to be at least one game in the series where Vooch doesn't step on the floor in the fourth quarter. So there's risk there, but obviously it's a spot where he should have a lot of success. You can kind of mitigate that risk by just making sure you're getting one of the main Milwaukee guys in lineups with him, because if he does play really well, there's a good chance you're getting 4 quarters from the Milwaukee guys also. So he's the guy that really stands out from Orlando. Then you start getting into the value, particularly at guard, with Fultz, Ross, and Augustine. None of them getting a ton of minutes, which is kind of surprising to me. I kind of thought that they would run a little bit tighter rotation there. But all of them should come in, Fultz and Ross around 28 to 30 minutes, Augustine 24 to 26 minutes. Tons of potential assists so far for Augustine. They all three of them, well, actually, Fultz and Augustine both grade out relative to their salaries as similar plays for me, a little bit ahead of Ross. But Vooch, the one guy that's really standing out in terms of raw point projection from Orlando, looking to Fultz and Augustine as decent values.
All right. So if you are looking on you need a salary saver if you're playing any of the one game or the single slates, and the sites have been doing that for all the contests. If you're going on the cheap here, is it Wes Iwundu? Is it a Khem Birch? Do you think Gary Clark? Yeah, do you think Gary Clark can continue to make and or take shots? 5 and 12 his last 2 games there. Let's see, mostly gunning for. Actually, all of his shots have been 3-point attempts, 17 straight.
Yeah, I mean, he'll get the opportunities because Milwaukee would love for him to be the one taking the shots, and Milwaukee's good enough defensively to kind of force what they want, at least to some extent. Especially if you're not talking about Vooch. Like you've seen it with Evan Fournier's usage being way down because Milwaukee's just not letting him get the ball. They would rather have Gary Clark and Markelle Fultz and August taking shots. And so from a DFS standpoint, the opportunities will be there for a really, really cheap Clark. The problem is just that, especially as pricing has gotten sharper, he's one of the only really cheap values that is still there. And so he's not a volatile player in terms of having the ability, at least very often, to really give you a good score in terms of raw points. It's more of just a good point per dollar play. And so when you're getting ownership there, funneled there just because of how pricing is, there's always merit to getting away from that guy in tournaments. But, at 3,600, you're expecting 28 to 30 minutes of him. I think he's a good value.
All right. Where are you coming in for your crunches? Approximately.
I haven't done them yet.
Okay.
Still working on them.
All right. So updated the news. I should have mentioned Michael Carter-Williams has been ruled out a couple hours ago. Not expected to play, of course. Same thing with Aaron Gordon. He's definitely ruled out. And then Giannis is starting. He had been dealing with the calf injury, but that is the moving parts that we have there. Do you feel like going back to, or what do you want to do with Chris Middleton? He's someone that I've been going under the field on, which has been working out for me. But we know that he is an excellent player and does get some good fantasy production. Have they changed what they're doing there in Orlando at all? Or is this just kind of a short sample size, run of bad luck, basically?
I think it's probably a little bit of a combination of both. Obviously, you don't expect the usage to be as low for Middleton as it has been through the first couple of games. But at the same time, this isn't really a series where they need him. I mean, he had a 24.5% usage rate game 1. He just shot 4 of 12 from the field. Game 2, it was 16%. Shot 1 of 8, did basically nothing. He contributed peripherals, but that was about it. But it's just not really a series where they need him, and that Giannis is going to look to take over these games. Giannis's usage has been even higher than normal through the first couple of games at 40.5 and 43.3%. So I think for Middleton, he's kind of the hardest one for me to get to from the main Milwaukee guys because Giannis, of course, is a priority. He's just doing everything. You have more favorable pricing on Bledsoe and Brook Lopez. So if you're looking to get to one of the Milwaukee guys that isn't Giannis, it's just going to be easier for Bledsoe or Lopez to pay off those salaries, obviously. Whereas Middleton kind of just needs to take over a game to pay off close to an 8K price tag. And I just don't really know that this is the series where Middleton needs to do that.
Is there anything that surprised you at all in this as we head into Game 3, or anything that you've noted that you've said to yourself and say, that's something? I mean, other than the Bucks losing Game 1, anything you want to look towards or take away that we may not have covered at this point?
I mentioned it before, but the Fournier lack of usage has been the biggest takeaway for me from the series. And again, it makes sense that Milwaukee doesn't want him taking these shots, but it's something that, obviously, could it be a small sample size thing and he comes out and gets more shots today? Like, yeah, it could, but I'm buying into it pretty heavily that Milwaukee is just scheming not to let Fournier get these shots.
Okay. All right. As you are making notes, so am I in my fantasy projections here. My ownership, as we call it, the popularity of where the different players are going to be. And that is something that we have behind the paywall here. You can get that right now for the low price of $8.24 for an entire week of NBA content. Promo code Mamba honoring Kobe Bryant there. That will get you the deal. You just select the 1 week NBA package, put in promo code Mamba, and it will be $8.24. Obviously, Kobe's 2 different numbers that he's worn, so you'll want to check that out. Best deal we've put out here in a while. Alrighty, too many windows open, so let's go back here. I'm so used to how I've got baseball set up. Basketball is like completely foreign. Indiana at Miami. We have Miami leading this series 2-0. We haven't seen Bam Adebayo really unleashed. The price is coming down. We've seen Jimmy Butler with a couple solid games here. Goran Dragic has been outstanding. And then Kendrick Nunn, I saw him this morning, Adam, back in my milk carton when I was pouring it into the cereal. It says, "Where is Kendrick Nunn?"
Yeah, he's lost his rotation spot to Tyler Hero. He played really, really poorly in the seeding games, left the bubble for, I don't remember the reason, but upon coming back, he no longer has a spot in the Miami rotation. I think Spoelstra alluded to the fact that Nunn would eventually get minutes. I don't know if that was kind of just like a platitude to avoid saying that he's not going to get minutes, or if it was just, kind of, yeah, there's a game where maybe he'll play like 10 minutes. But for now, obviously, you're not projecting him to play. The really interesting thing that we've seen from Miami is that in the first 2 games, neither of Jay Crowder or Duncan Robinson closed. Tyler Hero and Andre Iguodala closed both games. In the first game, that wasn't really that surprising, just based on how the game was going. In the second game, though, I'm actually taking more away from that, because in the second game, Duncan Robinson shot 7 for 8 from 3, still did not close the game. If he's making all of his threes and he's still not on the floor in the fourth quarter, it's really hard to fit. I just assume that Spoelstra is intentionally not closing with Duncan Robinson, and that you're going to get those Tyler Hero minutes there, and that those are pretty secure. And then Crowder was playing a lot better in game 2 as well, and you still got Iggy closing over him. So I'm buying into that game 2 rotation, and I did shave minutes off of my projections for Crowder and Robinson, and add them on to Iguodala and especially Tyler Hero.
All right, I do like that. Yeah, the call out there for Iguodala. I mean, we know this is the whole reason he's out there, is these crucial playoff minutes. That's kind of been his role. It was back in Golden State, again here. So now it's time for him to shine, and we know that minutes are king when we get to playoff basketball. And it appears that he has found himself some consistent ones there.
And to be clear, I'm not saying you should play Iguodala. It's
Yes.
just it's more of I'm concerned about the minutes for Crowder.
So is that a lot of? Do you think it's the ankle? Do you think it's just kind of? I don't even know. I can't read into it.
Spoelstra preferring to have Iguodala on the close.
Okay. Do we see Udonis Haslem in this series?
I would not think so.
Ceremonial minute somewhere, maybe 2. Let's see here. We've got Moses Guthrie points out he noticed the same thing with Crowder. He thinks it's due to his pick and roll defense.
Entirely possible.
TJ Warren, is he in your player pool, and how much?
Everybody's in my player pool, and I haven't crunched yet, so
okay. I'm not getting much. We have him for 36 points, and it looks like about 4% of the field will be with him. Justin Holiday. When the shot is falling, he gets some fantasy points. 5 steals in his last game, 2 blocks. That would be 7 stocks, as Dave Lochran likes to call them. His 3 games here, he has gotten some rebounds, gotten a little bit of the hustle stats. He has taken 4, 4, and 5 shots. Can he be trusted at all?
No, I don't think so. It's clearly just he's not a high usage guy. He's not going to be on this team. He's been closing over Aaron Holiday, which is kind of disappointing from a DFS standpoint, because if I could project more minutes for Aaron Holiday, I'd actually have some interest in him. He's been playing really aggressively when he is in, but last game Holiday was in some early foul trouble, but in the second half he was fine as far as fouls go, and you still got Justin Holiday closing over him. So it's really tough to give Aaron the minutes. Justin doesn't really do anything with those minutes unless he's piling up steals, like you said, with 5 last game. But it's just really obvious to see that there's not going to be usage there for him when you're talking about getting big minutes from Victor Oladipo, Malcolm Brogdon, and TJ Warren, not to mention Miles Turner. So all those guys are getting the ball before Justin Holiday gets it, and it makes it basically impossible for me to have much interest in him.
All right, we just had a little projection update here for the player production, so I'm going to load that into Fantasy Cruncher. And let's see, so Brogdon and Victor Oladipo, kind of the key players here. I like Jimmy Butler and Dragic. That's really all I'm getting. Is there a blind spot there? I'm going to play about 30 lineups today.
No, that's mostly where I'm at. Bam Adebayo has been relatively disappointing through the first couple of games. He's certainly a capable player that can do well in the spot, and he probably is a little bit underpriced, 7,300. But you are seeing a little bit more usage go to Butler. You're seeing Goran Dragic take a ton of usage, and that's taking a little bit away from Adebayo. Also, he's someone that contributes in every category, but the assist rate should come down a little bit playing so many minutes with Dragic and Butler as well. So I think he is taking a little bit of a hit in terms of what you should expect from him. Dragic and Butler clearly just dominating the usage on this team. So they look like the two top guys to me from Miami. You mentioned Brogdon on the Indiana side, dominating usage there, averaging through the first two games about 114 touches per 48 minutes, averaging over 20 drives per 48 minutes, which is really good to see. The salary really hasn't come up either. So that's the biggest thing, is you're not expecting him to be extremely efficient against this Miami team, but he's playing 38 minutes. He's doing pretty much everything offensively, and he's still really cheap. So he projects as, to me, clearly the top guy from Indiana.
All right. See, someone asking in chat, promo code's not working. Promo code Mamba. You need to select the 1 week premium package. If you pick anything else, it will not align or work with those. It's for 1 week. Promo code Mamba 824. All access basketball. That does get you, of course, access to Adam 24/7 via Slack, and he loves to talk to people at all hours. Let him know what he's doing throughout the day. You would be an interesting influencer on Instagram, Adam.
I can't think of anything that I'm less suited for.
Well, I think your audience interaction and constant abuse of them would make it worthwhile. So it would fill my heart and with joy, and the hours with pleasure these days. So hopefully we can see that at some point. Fortunately, the lockdown didn't last long enough for you to get that desperate. Anything else from our second game?
No, I think that about covers it.
Alrighty, we are on to game 3 here. This one should be an exciting one. Houston at OKC. The part about this one that's been really interesting is we have not seen James Harden have to come out and crush. And we have also seen Houston win both games. 123-108 in the first one, 111-98 in the second one. Are they playing defense, Adam?
It's been interesting, and as far as Harden goes, I'm kind of concerned from a DFS standpoint. You know, obviously you don't want to read too much into 2 games, but I think OKC has done a decent job of limiting him, particularly offensively, and letting, you know, Eric Gordon and the wings do, you know, basically beat them, and they have. But his usage has been down through each of the first 2 games. His touches have been down, especially in game 1. He only had 74 touches. Game 2, he was at 88, which is a little bit better, but or, you know, it's definitely better, but, you know, still just not taking over games like you've seen in the past. And to your point, you know, he hasn't needed to either. But you did see Oklahoma City winning game 2 in the first half. Houston went on a 17-0 run without Harden on the floor in the second half to take the lead. So, you know, you still didn't really see Harden taking over those games. And I think to some extent it has to do with Oklahoma City. So I'm factoring that in at least somewhat in my Harden projections. He still obviously projects as the top or you know, in the top 2 in raw points between him and Giannis. But I am a little bit more interested in going to some of the wings and mixing and matching the Houston wings than Harden, especially if Harden's going to get some ownership.
Yeah, it's looking like we're. I have to see if it's updated. He's about 25% right now. I'll put one more update in if it comes, but I've made enough adjustments in Cruncher that at this point I don't really like refreshing it or tweaking it, because then I forget what I've changed and what I've overridden there. So Jeff Green, sadly center only at this point. I guess that makes sense, but 4,900, he's very nice, but we only have 2 eligible center spots there on DraftKings, so that makes it a little tricky. Daniel House had a great game in his last one. Of course, he went 6 of 13, knocked down 3 threes, actually got to the line 4 times. He got to the line 1, 2, 3, 5 times in the 7 games prior to that. So that was a little lucky bonus. It kind of put everything together. If I'm going with anyone, it's going to be Eric Gordon, back-to-back 30 fantasy point games. He does have a little bit of upside. We know that there could be some minutes boost. I can't remember if he was, what was he, hurt, COVID, or I forget what, but
yeah. I think he was hurt, but I don't remember.
But so what we saw it was him ramping up. Now we're in the playoffs. It feels more like he will get the minutes over some of those other guys there. So he's the one guy. Like Robert Covington kind of has disappeared in this one. I didn't get to watch the last game. I don't know if it's because of where he's playing on positioning on offense and because he's kind of, I guess, battling Steven Adams per se and others in the paint. So I'm a little concerned with him. I agree with you on the Harden. As the price keeps ticking up on DraftKings, the price per dollar is not that great. So, wow, who knew? Eric Gordon and Jeff Green, here we are.
Yeah, I'm
that doesn't feel good.
30+% usage in each of the first 2 games for Gordon. The production's been there, but it's not even like you've seen a game where he actually shoots well. Obviously, he's kind of just had a down shooting year in general, but 7 for 17 in 30 minutes in the first game, 6 for 20 in 33 minutes in the second game. He gets, around 10 minutes without Harden on the floor where his peripherals will tick up and he gets more assist opportunities. But clearly just getting plenty of shots up, and his price tag's still really affordable. The minutes are there. So I'm going back to Gordon a lot, and, hopefully he doesn't burn me like he tends to. As far as the wings, though, yeah, I think, Josh and I were talking about it before the show. The way I'm approaching it is just setting a rule not to get more than 2 of the House, Tucker, Covington, Green group, because you assume that Harden and Gordon are closing. Tucker probably closes in just about every scenario. So you could even do max 2 out of the other 3. But, I think they eat into each other's production a little bit as well. But, yeah, I think a lot of it's just going to be a hot hand situation. Jeff Green, it does seem like, going back to the seeding games, you kind of saw D'Antoni quietly ramping up his minutes, even in situations that he didn't really need to. So I don't think it's too surprising that you're seeing 30+ minutes from Jeff Green in each of these first 2 games. I do think that he's a little bit more appealing at his salary than Covington is at his. House and Tucker obviously still really cheap and getting a little bit more in terms of usage than normal. Again, as OKC looks to make those guys beat them. So I think that Green is my preferred option out of the group, then looking to House and Tucker.
All right, I'm just making notes there for myself. On the other side here, Steven Adams has been viable, at least. 26 fantasy points in his last game, played 30 minutes, 28 the one prior, or 28 minutes in the first game. He played 36 fantasy points, not really taking shots. 13 in the first one, 4 in the second. He, since we have returned to action, has 3 double-digit shot attempt games. He was missed a couple games with injury, etc. Moving over there, is he someone you like at all, or is this more of a kind of a Jeff Green day? Perhaps we'll talk about Hassan Whiteside. Maybe a better chance there with Vooch or Brook Lopez. Feels like Steven Adams has kind of fallen out of favor for everybody. That makes him interesting in tournaments, of course.
Yeah, I still like Adams. I mean, it's the big thing coming in the series that we had talked about was, is he going to get run off the floor? Is he going to get minutes? I had said I thought that he would play his normal, or at least close to his normal minutes, because it would just be weird for Billy Donovan's game plan to play into the Rockets' strengths and turn it into a small ball, 3-point shooting contest. And so far they haven't done that. You've seen Adams get his typical run. He should get plenty of rebounding opportunities. That's been the case. Last game he disappointed, only had 8 points, but a lot of it will come down to where is he getting his rebounds? Is he getting offensive rebounds and putbacks? And to some extent, the Rockets do limit that because they shoot so many threes. You get longer rebounds, less rebounds, potentially going to Adams. But I still think anything around the basket, he's clearly the huge favorite to get, and his salary really hasn't come up either. So I still really like Adams here.
Yeah. Branching out with their, we see their wings. Danilo Gallinari, never exciting. I swear that guy never gets more than 30, 34 fantasy points. He did have 39 in game 1, back to his mediocre ways with 24 in the last game. I want to go under the field on him. I'm going to go with about 10% there. But Chris Paul is the guy I would like to go over the field. I want to double the about 20% that we have him here on DraftKings. Everything's going to begin with him, run through him. We know he does have rebounding upside in games like this, which is always exciting as well. Game 1, he actually flirted with a near triple-double. I don't think that's going to be the case, but we know 6, 7, 8 is definitely definitely in the cards. How are you feeling about Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
Yeah, I think all three of them are appealing tournament targets. Paul really disappointed last time out. Hopefully that does drive his ownership down a little bit because, I think that he should have success here. It's you're kind of playing roulette with the usage because you have 4 high usage guys out there with Schroeder, Paul, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Gallinari. And in any particular game, one of them can take over. So they're median usage projections are a little bit lower than similarly priced guys, but the opportunities will be there. You're getting 37, 38 minutes from Paul. Like you said, peripherals are there as well. You just kind of need him to get hot and decide that he's going to be the one that scores, and that certainly can happen. So as a lower owned tournament play, I think the upside's there. And the same goes for the other two. You saw it last game with Gilgeous-Alexander get, I think, 44 DraftKings points and relatively low ownership. No reason he can't do that again. You're expecting 38 minutes from him. And Schroeder's been kind of disappointing so far, but the usage has still been there. He's the cheapest out of the group. You should still get around 31, 32 minutes. It's obviously really easy for Oklahoma City to run 3-guard lineups against the Rockets, so no real concerns with his minutes. I think that kind of mixing and matching these guys, I don't want more than really 2 of them in any one lineup because they take usage from each other to some extent. But I think all 3 of them are good options, especially if you're going heavily on Harden or Gordon.
Have you actually set a rule around that?
Yeah, I'm not playing more than 2 of them.
Okay. Let's see. Dort. Yikes. Looking at their discounted options, Dort, Baisley. Did we even bring up Nerlens? Did he even play? He did. 17 minutes in the last one. He played 8 in game 1. What do you want to do with the cheapies here? We only have 8 teams in our player pool, 4 total games, leaving no stone unturned here. The non-high usage players of the Thunder. Who would you like to gamble on for a couple steals? Maybe a shot clock beating 3.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really all you could say about Dort is that if you're like desperately looking for a cheap guy to pivot off of Gary Clark, Dort's kind of the same play. Like they're going to want him out there to defend James Harden as much as he can. He's going to try and knock down some open threes. Whether or not he hits them, your guess is as good as mine. But that's at least the game plan there. And so he'll beat Gary Clark a decent percentage of the time, but it's clearly not something you're going to be confident in. Nerlens Noel should get around 17 minutes, and he's over a 1 fantasy point per minute player. But the problem there, obviously, is you're sacrificing the center position, and that's never something that you're going to feel really good about doing. So neither guy is really a priority, but there is at least, you're talking about 150 lineups. There's at least some reason to have them in more than 0.
Question here from Premium Chat. G2 Glitchy. He says, howdy Emac, new to Awesemo. Been following you since the RG days. Welcome aboard. I hope you got in here on this nice promo code Mamba deal, 824 for the whole week here of all access NBA. His question is, on DraftKings, do you go with Victor Oladipo or Danilo Gallinari? For me, it's Oladipo.
I don't have the ownership in front of me, but looking at my projections for them, I know I have them similar. Sorry. I have Gallinari a little bit ahead of Oladipo.
Okay. I'm building a rule here based on what Adam was saying to only play 2 of the wings here for OKC. See, this is I'm gonna have a good day on this, Adam. I have a feeling.
Based on how my playoff basketball's going, I might disagree.
No. This is the one where I use your information and win.
Okay, yeah. that happens a lot.
That's always one of my favorites. Is you said not to do it. I went ahead and did it anyway, and I won. It's like, oh well, congratulations. I hat tip to you. Anything else from this game? And chat, don't worry, we'll talk some questions and we'll get into some specifics here. We'll talk some boom bust options. It's just we're game 3 across the board here of matchups we've already seen, so there's not a ton that we want to leave unturned, except we have a wild card in our next one, Adam. Damian Lillard and his dislocated finger. I'm not feeling good about him at all. I will come in under the field. In this game, I'm really leaning towards Hassan Whiteside. We did see him play a little bit with Nurkic as well. Break down how you're approaching Lillard first here, because this is the classic. He could be hurt, and he's played a couple bad games, and all of a sudden he's hanging a 50 real NBA point night. I don't feel good about him.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that makes it hardest for me is just that he keeps, obviously being on slates with Giannis and Harden, and his salary's in the same price range as them. So as far as the injury goes, yeah, it could be a concern, but that's typically not something that I worry about too much, just because, there's no real way to quantify that effectively. But it's just really difficult for me to get to Lillard. Like, he can go out and have a monster game, and really he'll need to for Portland to beat the Lakers again. But then you still need him to essentially beat all of Davis and LeBron and Giannis and Harden, and that's just really, really unlikely. So my interest in Lillard is mostly just as a late swap option if, my lineups have gone to shit and I need to get off of, just do something different because he shouldn't get ownership. But injury or not, I'm just not getting to Lillard at his price relative to the other guys on this slate.
Yeah, it definitely makes it easier just to say, you know what, I'm coming in under the field, and I'm okay with it. It's like every little tiebreaker is leaning to not play him, so I'm comfortable with that as well. How are you feeling about Whiteside here as one of our potential value plays across the board? It's one of the center spots that we will be utilizing, but I think it's a decent allocation in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. It's okay. He played big minutes last game, played a ton of minutes next to Nurkic. You did have Wendy and Gabriel in foul trouble, so I'm not sure what the actual plan was as far as time for Whiteside. But one, Wendy and Gabriel probably will be in foul trouble again. And two, I still think that the fact that Stotts has clearly been very willing to play them alongside each other, and this is a matchup where it makes a lot of sense, I'm still giving 24, 25 minutes to Whiteside. You have to adjust for the rebounding numbers coming down a bit and the usage coming down from where it was early in the season, or for most of the season, now that he's playing so many minutes alongside Nurkic. But you got 26 minutes and 22 minutes in the first 2 games. Obviously you had the blowout in game 2. So at his salary, even with decreased rates for playing more minutes alongside Nurkic, it's still, I think, a pretty solid value.
Right.
Obviously don't play them together. I still wouldn't play them together, mostly because Nurkic is expensive enough that
you need him to get the shade towards the really production to have it work out. Yeah. What about CJ McCollum here? Let's not assume Lillard's going to be doing whatever he needs to do to the best of his ability, and even if it's a detriment to the team with the shooting. What do you want to do with CJ McCollum? He is someone that I have not ended up with, I think, through their first 2 games at all.
Yeah, I don't think I'm really going to get there either. It's just really tough for me to get to this Portland team relative to other guys priced around them. Like, you can make the argument for ownership and the fact that they're going to play huge minutes. If this game's competitive, you should get north of 40 minutes for Dame and for McCollum. It's just that I think they're priced pretty much where they should be, factoring that in. Even when I project 42 minutes and that, that's what they'll need to play, they still end up being good, but not as good as the guys around them.
All right, looks like we've got. Did we do ownership? Got a newer ownership one, so let me hit refresh and see if that works for me. Where is Mr. Whiteside? We will use him as the bellwether. He's coming in at 13.9. Did my refresh work? It did. All right, so with regards to the remainder of Portland here, everything is really spread out at the moment, and let me rephrase that. It's incredibly low. We've got Whiteside for 14, Lillard for 12, McCollum for 9, Carmelo for 9, and then everybody else is 4 or less. That includes Nurkic, who is coming in at 3.2. I know you love Nurkic. Hardly anyone's going to be playing him, it is expensive, but we know we've seen the 2020 upside. It's a little different matchup than when he got that last Saturday. But with just 5%, less than 5% of the field on him, is that one you feel like going over, especially if you're hand building some?
I think it's fine. I'm still, it doesn't look like going to get there. I'm just not really getting him in many lineups because he is so expensive. But it's definitely it's hard to get really good players at low ownership on a 4-game slate.
Mm-hmm.
So you can certainly make that argument for Nurkic.
Alrighty. Anything else you want to call out here from Portland?
No, I think that's it. Okay. Whiteside being the main guy.
So Rondo is going to be our wild card game time decision with his thumb. If he's in, I think that kind of tweaks LeBron James a little bit with some of his ball handling. It definitely impacts Alex Caruso. Caruso has played 17 and 29 minutes in the first 2 games here, but we know everything runs through LeBron. We haven't seen LeBron really drop the hammer. Heck, he only played 27 minutes in the last game. It was such a blowout. They were giving him a bit of a break. He had 29 fantasy points. Game before that, it was a 17, 16, 20 or 23 points, 17 boards, 16 assists. That just is phenomenal. But still just kind of 73 points. I don't want to say just, but he's got Anthony Davis there, who is equally impressive with his usage rates. Break down the top 2 forwards there for the Lakers.
I really like Davis here. Obviously I like LeBron too. It's a Portland team that doesn't play defense, but they just really have no answer for Davis in particular. And you've seen the usage for Davis be a little bit higher. And I think that makes sense. There's just nothing Portland can really do to slow him down. And it's just a matter of him looking to take over basically. And so at his salary, I think that it hasn't come up enough to warrant getting away from him. I think that he's cheap enough. You can get him plus Giannis if you want to, or you can just go with Davis in a more balanced lineup. Either one I think works. And it's a matchup he should dominate. You saw him do it last time out, which was really good to see. And I would expect more of that as we go forward.
Would you play LeBron and Davis in the same lineup?
No. If I did, it would be just a full game stack. And the other thing that makes it tough is I'm not really sure how easy. I know it's not easy. I don't know if you can even do it. Like if you have LeBron and Davis, you're going to want Lillard or Nurkic or both, and they're all so expensive. It's going to be really hard to make that work if you even can.
All right, we've got 24 minutes. Let's talk a little bit about the front court here. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's shot was falling, so he appeared. Danny Green's shot was not falling. Between the 2 of them, I guess I prefer Danny Green, but they're both kind of a shell of their former selves. Kyle Kuzma, not interesting at all. I'm okay with JaVale McGee. Is he, but again, we're running into the center issue here. Is he someone that you are willing to go with?
I'm not looking to McGee. Like he's playing 12, 13 minutes. He's producing at a high rate, but there's just no path to him really getting more minutes. It's not like it would make sense for them to give him more minutes, really. And so I'm not getting there. It's just the upside's so capped.
All right. Anything else stand out amongst those other guys? Green, Pope, Caruso, Kuzma?
I mean, so Danny Green, actually, I guess Caldwell-Pope to some extent too, but Green and Caldwell-Pope are still just kind of interesting tournament plays to me because they both suck, at least right now. They haven't been shooting well, especially Green. But they're also cheap. They're getting plenty of looks. They're playing a terrible defense. Like they're not going to feel good to roster because they're Caldwell-Pope and Danny Green, but the opportunities are there for them. The recency bias is going to keep people away, especially again Green, because he's been so bad for a while now. But there's still going to be a game where Danny Green just knocks down 5 threes and then smashes his salary.
All right. Any other takeaways from this game? I'll throw out a few questions here as I get ready to hit crunch myself.
No, I think that's it.
All right. Scrolling back up. Are Harden, Gordon, and Jeff Green viable in the same DK lineup? If you're going that heavy, should you run it back with one of the OKC guys? That's for the Maharishi.
I probably would, yeah.
All right. Is it okay to have Ennis and Clark in the same DK tournament?
It's okay. It's not my favorite just because you're kind of giving two guys that are relatively low upside guys spots in the same lineup, and the easiest path or one of the easiest paths to them having good games is more rebounds than normal. It's unlikely that they both have more rebounds than normal. If I'm making 150 lineups, I would set a rule against it because it is only a 4-game slate and there's only so much value. But if I'm playing one lineup, I probably would try and find a different way to go.
I want your immediate response to this next phrase. Mario Hezonja.
Nope.
There you are. I could have even asked for a one-word answer. That would have been better. Let's see. Bledsoe or Fultz? We didn't hit a ton on Fultz in that first game.
Yeah, I mean, he's still so cheap. His minutes concern me. The fact that he's still not a good three-point shooter obviously concerns me. But he's just still so cheap and playing around 28 minutes here. I'm still going to get a lot of him just because, again, it's a 4-game slate. There's only so many spots to go to for value. I do think Bledsoe is someone that is interesting in tournaments, though, because you haven't gotten a big game out of him yet. But I kind of mentioned when we talked about Milwaukee, Middleton at his salary kind of just has to like take over the game for him to really be someone that you're glad you have at almost 8K. Bledsoe doesn't really have to take over. He just has to be the main secondary piece behind Giannis at 57 or 5,500. So I do think Bledsoe at tournaments is a pretty good play.
Who's your favorite play of the night? Davis, I'm guessing?
Probably Giannis.
Giannis? All right, we've got 20 minutes left. Are you coming in above or below the field yet? Or are you still in the process?
Still working on it.
I am going to probably match the field with Giannis. I'm looking to come ahead on Brogdon, ahead on Fultz. I'm okay being ahead on Bale McGee. Harden, I am going to try to come a little bit above the field there. Jimmy Butler is another guy I'm looking to go above the field. Most of OKC, I won't. Outside of Oladipo and Brogdon, I'm not really looking at Indiana. And then Miami, heavy on Dragic. I'll keep doing that, and not much Bam Adebayo. Even though it's a nice price on DK, we got the field at about 1 and 4. I'm getting about 5%. So that's where we are on that one. Let's see. If you're looking at a 2v2, AD and Whiteside or CP3 and Brogdon, I would lean towards the former, but I'm a chalk donkey.
I like them both. Probably Davis Whiteside.
All right. This is awesome. The guy on the right looks like he doesn't give an F. I think he's talking about Adam. Well, what Adam is doing right now is building lineups to play several $1,000s in these contests, and he is kind enough to be giving us his advice, and he's working on his crunches, making sure his rules that he has set previously are bringing out the portfolio of players that he's looking to do before he does 150 max today?
No, mostly focusing on 3 max.
3 max. But your process still very similar, correct? Yep. Building and then selecting. So there you go. So multitasking here.
Also, to answer your question, I'd be way over the field on Giannis.
So if you're doing 3, you're going 2 out of 3.
I might be going 3 out of 3.
Okay, there you go, chat. That's something to think about. Whiteside or Jeff Green? I'm actually going to say Jeff Green on that one.
I'd lean toward Whiteside.
Okay. Talk about some fantasy draft chalky plays. I am going to say, let me look over here at DK, because essentially fantasy draft DK pricing, but doubled. So no late swap there, but you are finding that there is some room in their tournaments, and a lot of times you're going to be playing essentially rake free over there. They have changed their process. They are not the subscription-based site anymore, but they are taking rake. And then what they're doing is, if you on any contest where you actually have lost, they're giving you a portion of your rake back. It's rather confusing, but you're going to get a little refund at the end of each week based on any of the contests that you have lost. So that's a new wrinkle that they're looking to do there. In any event, if we are looking at guys over there, it's going to come very close to what DK is doing, but I would say Davis is probably going to be popular there. It looks like DJ Augustine would be in the mix. Gary Clark definitely will be in the mix, and James Ennis. So it looks like it'd be a lean towards the Orlando guys there. Hey, you'll be winning your contests early. It's a long day though, so we'll have to see what happens there. How many Fultz are on those three teams, do you think, Adam? Or
Um,
how much? How many? Well, could have phrased that question worse.
I'm trying. So in the crunch I just did, out of 150, I would have had about 20% on DraftKings, so it would have been underweight. I'm doing one more, so we'll see where that gets to.
Right. I think mine is relatively set for where I want it to be, so I'm gonna crunch right there. My 30 lineups, and then let's see. How do you feel about Duncan Robinson? He's got good production, but the minutes really haven't been there.
Yeah, I'm not really high on Robinson here. Obviously, he's coming off the big game last time out. He shot 7 for 8 from 3, which clearly you're not going to expect. But we talked about it before. He shot 7 for 8 from 3 and still did not close that game. Tyler Hero still closed over him. That makes me think that there's not really much Duncan Robinson can do to be ahead of Tyler Hero in the closing rotation. So if he's kind of hard capped at 26 to 28 minutes and his only real job on the floor is to shoot, there's only so much he can really do, and his salaries come up.
Let's see. Fultz, Whiteside, or Augustine for your DK utility lineup. DK cash utility.
For cash, I would say double checking, but we have Fultz at 35%. We have Whiteside at 28%, and we have Augustine at 15%. In cash, when it's that close, I would just go with the ownership.
All right. In chat, this is premium chat, says, I missed the exposure of Josh Engelman. That helped me a lot. I believe he's available today on OnlyFans, I think is what the website is called. So you can check him out there. I'll let you run that one down. See, that gets most of our. We mentioned, or Adam mentioned that Schroeder for GPPs is fine. He's capping his wing usage there at 2 per entry, and Schroeder has just been a little disappointing, is all. But we know he can get cooking, and he's definitely in the mix there. It's just hard with those high usage players of him, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chris Paul, and Danilo all on the court together. Sexy spreadsheet time, they say. Josh takes his hat off on OnlyFans for $25. Ooh, there you go. They knew Engelman was a freak. Hey, I just report the news. I nothing to do with that. Evan Fournier or House?
Oof. House.
All right. Justo, definitely Google that answer. It'll help you out. Best we'll talk about best super draft plays in a sec. Best value plays do you feel on DK? Go to super draft. Super draft.
There's none that I feel like great about. I mean, I think Whiteside's a really good one. Fultz is a good value, but it's just the value, the pricing's gotten to where, because again, we're on the third games of these series, the pricing has gotten to where most of the guys that are still cheap, it's really, really easy to see how they do absolutely horrible. So I mean, I think that the best values are Gordon, Fultz, Clark, if you need to go that cheap. Ennis is also a good point per dollar value. It's just really, really easy to see how those guys fail as well. Gordon would be my favorite. I mean, he's 5,100, so he's not like your really, really cheap value, but just because I think his price hasn't really adjusted correctly, whereas most of the other guys have.
All right, hitting refresh here. We'll talk a little super draft with their multipliers. They do have a little bit of roster flexibility. You only play one center, but they've given a couple people multi-position eligibility over there, so that is something that they kind of change around depending on the player pool. But check that out. The number one play over there, even accounting for our multiplier, and for him, the multiplier is 1, is James Harden. Brogdon looks like the best play over there at a 1.55 multiplier, and Vooch coming in at 1.25 are right there. There are six players we have projected for 60 or more fantasy points. Chris Paul and Jimmy Butler are coming in at 61. They both have a 1.4 multiplier. And then Giannis 1.0 multiplier is in there as well. So I really like Brogdon in that one. Oladipo just on the outside looking in, but he has a 1.75 multiplier. So those are some different ways you can get there. Matt Riley in the premium chat asks, what is going on with the Lakers center minutes? So we did mention it's hard for any of them to do rather well. Ultimately, what's going on is Anthony Davis will get some time at the 5. The rest is going to be more or less split evenly between JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard. Yes, there could be a little bit of a hot hand approach, but there's really not that many minutes left to split. So you're probably thinking an upside on either Howard or McGee would be about 16 minutes. And baseline is probably 12 to 14 for each. So maybe 18 would be the upside, but maybe one of them gets in foul trouble, dinged up, whatever. That would more likely be the path to get there. They're basically the garbage men on the court. They're there to rebound, set picks, and maybe get some putbacks. Otherwise, it's going to be LeBron and AD. And that's the thing you forget is LeBron literally can play every position, and AD can play damn near every position. So it really hurts those guys, even though there are players for them to body with Nurkic and with Whiteside. So that's kind of the mix there. I would still prefer any of those guys over Alex Caruso. Sorry, boss.
So I think I'm getting more Jeff Green than I expected. I'm looking, maybe it's just an ownership thing. Yeah, I mean, we have Jeff Green at 10% ownership. We have Whiteside at 28. So maybe that's what I'm getting more.
Couple more game stack lineups here just for fun. Now I'm in my screwing around mode. Let's see, CJ McCollum or CP3. For me, it will be CP3.
CP3.
I really like the game stack of Butler, Brogdon, Oladipo, and Goran Dragic, though. That feels enticing. And then now for fun, because I'm just making lineups that I don't care if I'm lighting money on fire. I'm making sure at least that these lineups now have at least one player from the late game on them. Because why? Well, I don't know. I'm going to be watching the late game.
More fun.
My wife's not here, so me and the dog are going to be hanging out. I dropped her off at the airport earlier this morning, and yeah, we get to do whatever we want today. So I think it will be baseball, basketball, and pizza. So that sounds like fun. Make sure that all adds up to 100. You got to keep it real, Adam. Yeah, you got that one. I was just checking. Lineup note here from the news god himself. Bucks are starting Bledsoe, Wes Matthews, Middleton, Giannis, and Lopez. Fun story for chat. My mom's driver's ed teacher was Robin and Brooke Lopez's grandfather. She went to high school with their mom. Their mom is not very tall. Just throwing that out there. But there you go. Let's see. Emac has a guy's day. That sounds like the dream. There we go. Yeah, well, it's funny. My wife does a lot of traveling for half marathons, but with the whole pandemic, this is the first one she's done. She's driven up and done a few, because the races are now what they're calling socially distancing races, and they're limiting the number of people that are there, and they're canceling them because then it's not worth the trouble of putting them on. So she's done a couple up in Maryland and a couple here in Virginia where, you know, they'll basically just set up a few water stations, and you know, you pay $50 and there's like 250 people that do it just because there's enough hardcore people out there. But this one, she's actually going to South Dakota intentionally. She is going to meet her friend there, her friend is trying to finish all 50 states by her 50th birthday, which is in a few weeks. So she has 3 states left. So we'll see if anything else gets canceled. But they're having girls' weekend to go do a half marathon in South Dakota. That, not the dream. Me, pizza, beer, and sports. Yes, that is the dream that we have there. All right. Wenyen Gabriel or Nerlens Noel?
I'd lean towards Noel. The reason being that Gabriel just really doesn't have a clear path to a bunch of minutes. Noel most likely doesn't either, but if Adams were to get in foul trouble or something, Noel probably picks up a few more minutes, and he's just going to be a more productive player than Gabriel on a per minute basis.
Chris Paul or Brogdon? Ooh, I'm leaning towards Chris Paul, but that's very close.
Brogdon, he's cheaper. and projects really similarly.
He
probably will also be higher on.
I have 52% Brogdon and 10% Chris Paul. So there you go. He is cheaper. Fantasy Cruncher is letting me know that.
Yeah, their ownership not projected to be that different on DraftKings either. 27% going to Brogdon, 19 to Paul.
If you were going to pair Chris Paul with anybody in a game stack there, who would it be from his side?
I don't think it really matters.
You're just kind of rolling the dice.
Yeah, point. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that he necessarily like
needs
positively
to be
correlates with.
Yeah. Let's see, Lillard and Terrence Ross, or the Dragon and Jimmy Butler.
Dragon Butler.
Brogdon or the Dragon, considering the discounts.
I like both a lot. Let me see. In the crunch I had done before, 50% Brogdon, 40% Dragic.
Could you rank the OKC guards for us? I'm gonna say Paul 1, and then it's a coin flip.
Yeah, I think it's Paul, Schroeder, Gilgeous-Alexander for me, factoring in pricing.
Okay. Let's see, Nurkic. Nurkic didn't end up on a lineup. I'm gonna have to make one lineup now with Nurkic, because how can you not have Nurkic? If I'm gonna do that, I'm not gonna play the name. Let's put that one in. And we are 5 minutes out. I'm going to download my CSV and upload, and then I'll be good to go. Adams or Miles? God, we didn't even mention Miles Turner.
I like Adams more, especially at their prices.
Yeah. I can't really get behind Turner in this one. Jakar Sampson, thoughts?
No.
Okay. Dort, thoughts?
Already gave them. He's gonna be out there to defend Harden. If he knocks down his threes and gets a couple steals, he can pay off his salary, but it's a really low probability play.
Any good questions? God, Fournier's coming into too many lineups here. You got the Dragon. I have 1% Robert Covington, and I don't feel bad about it. Cue Robert Covington's 50-point game. All right, while I'm putting this in, I want to remind everybody we do have an excellent promotion going on right now in honor of Kobe Bryant. We're doing the Mamba promo code. What you got to do is choose the 1 week Awesemo Premium NBA package and put in promo code MAMBA. It will just cost you $8.24, referencing his jersey numbers. And this promo is good through actual Mamba Day, which will be August 24th. That will be Monday. So you guys can check that out. Let's upload this. We also have a NASCAR show coming on after us. We have NASCAR going live at 4 today, and I believe at 4 again tomorrow. They're running a double race again. So that should be fun for anybody that does NASCAR like me. I will be consuming our content. Had a nice little weekend there for NASCAR. It was a lot of fun. Oh, they're asking me, hit that like button. Hit that like button. Get us up to 250, and I won't promote anything else for the rest of the show. That includes Adam. I won't promote him. Sorry. You're just going to be a fantasy contributor from here on out. Let me see. I think we're doing well coming into the home stretch here. You got 3 minutes to go. Looks like no real dramatic overlay to speak of anywhere as I'm poking around on the other side. So we do have a baseball show tonight at 6 o'clock. I think it's 12 games on the main slate, so you're going to want to check that out. That is going to be myself and T. McBee. On that, we also have a couple articles posted already talking about stacks, different hitters we like, and such. And then I've gone into my conspiracy theory about how they're using juiced baseballs in San Francisco. I don't think Adam has been privy to that yet, but 12 games so far, and they're averaging 12.8 runs per game in San Francisco. Just saying, there's
defenses in
6 to 8 feet. Didn't seem dramatic to me. Their bullpen's also bad. Oh, I did win the Fred Van Elite contest yesterday. So I will get 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. I am so excited. I would first like to thank all the little people that helped me get to where I am. There we go. Man of the people. All right, I'm going to download my last file because I just realized I entered some contests and I only have a placeholder lineup in there. That never fun. So everything I know, but I'd like to save my bankroll by at least having a viable lineup. In these there. Copy and paste that there. Man, where would our life be without Excel? And upload. Boom. Plenty of time left. Okay, so let's us see here. Will you guys look at ownership after lock? Yeah, we'll look at it quickly. I can't remember if there's a, let me see if there's a show right after us. But with that,
there's a NASCAR show.
I think they're going live right after us, so we will probably duck on out of here. But you can ask us questions in the premium Slack. Of course, if you're not in the premium Slack, you can get in there just over $1 a day for the next week. Use the promo code Mamba when you sign up for the NBA 1 week package. That will be $8.24. You're definitely going to want to do that. There should be some hockey. Oh, no, there's only one hockey game today, so I don't think there'll be a show for there. NASCAR, the Dryden 311. That show is going to be starting here momentarily. So there we go, Adam. Oh, super chat. I'm sorry. This is for DDS 2190. He wants to know your answer, Adam, because nobody pays me for my answers. Jeff Green and Dennis Schroeder, or Whiteside and the Dragon?
I like Whiteside and Dragic.
Excellent. There we are. All right. Oh, I think one more just came in. Any thoughts on... Oh, the game already started, right? Connaughton's game started?
Yeah, the game started. I mean, it's his potential assists and rebounds have actually been pretty decent, but it's still really difficult to trust his minutes. And his salary has come up a bit. Like, I would rather take a shot on one of the cheaper guys, like hope Danny Green actually makes some threes.
Have you played any of the single game contests or the shorter slates, or are you just focusing on these
I've played some.
The main four?
I've played some of them.
Right, I'm doing this real quick. I've got the file. I'm just waiting for it to open. Then we're going to get off air. But for those of you that are still around, hit that thumbs up, please. And here is our ownership. Markelle Fultz, 39%. Giannis, 35. James Ennis, 32. Gary Clark, 32. Fournier, 25. Vooch, 21. Bledsoe, 18. DJ Augustine, 17. Brook Lopez, 10. Connaughton, 8. Nothing really out of the ordinary other than Chris Middleton, just 4.5. Adam.
In the $200 3 max on DraftKings, Fultz is at 50%.
Okay. There we go. All right, gamers. With that, good luck.